All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to today's show. Very busy, obviously. For you today, just want to announce a quick change in the lineup. Before anything, we are now moving to the CBS interview with Saudi Arabia's Mohammed bin Salman. The Crown Prince was not very good. We'll tell you about why that was not up to par in a minute. But as a private attorney in 2016, FBI Director Chris Wray supervised a team of lawyers that informed the Justice Department that Blackwater founder Erik Prince had likely violated U.S. law while trying to sell secretly modified paramilitary attack aircraft to Azerbaijan's military. So pretty much what Erik Prince is, he is the leader of a private security company called Blackwater, which they tried to lobby the U.S. government to go into in Iraq. Like they wanted to literally have their own soldiers who would not go by any international law come in, crack heads open in Iraq, literally mercenaries. And I don't think they even went for it back then, but they are now trying to sell secretly modified paramilitary attack aircraft to Azerbaijan's military. Erik Prince out there, really one of the worst of the worst. Big friend and donor, I believe, of Donald Trump. And guess who is the sister of Erik Prince? None other than Betsy DeVos. Oh, wouldn't you know? Ray and Robert Hur, now a senior Justice Department official, were both partners at the powerhouse law firm King and Spalding in 2015 when officials at Prince's Hong Kong-based logistics company, Frontier Services Group, discovered suspicious activity by Prince over the proposed sale of planes. Hur is the top lieutenant to Rod Rosenstein at the moment, the Deputy Attorney General at King and Spalding, was one of the lead lawyers on the Prince investigation. FSG retained King and Spalding to conduct a review of the company's legal exposure to the violations of U.S. law on weapon sales and the export of defense services to foreign governments and militaries. The attorneys concluded that Prince could potentially be charged with brokering defense articles without a license, according to a copy of the review obtained by The Intercept. FSG hired lawyers, and by the way, FSG Frontier Services Group. FSG hired lawyers at Obama's Justice Department, National Security Division in February 2016 on Prince's activities, and a month later, FSG's CEO notified the State Department that FSG intended to voluntarily report possible violations of U.S. defense export laws. So they pretty much were monitoring Erik Prince and see if they violated any kind of laws regarding the exporting or importing of anything U.S. defense related. So the potential violations stem principally from the conduct of Mr. Prince, a U.S. person. CEO Greg Smith wrote to the State Department's Office of Trade Defense Controls, which regulates the export of defense articles and services, in a letter obtained by The Intercept. So they intercepted that letter, you could say. In the letter, Smith promised to provide the State Department with a copy of the findings of FSG's internal investigation. In April 2016, The Intercept published 2 reports detailing Prince's attempt to modify small aircraft for sale to militaries in Africa and Middle East in a federal investigation into his alleged business ties with Chinese intelligence. According to a second letter dated April 13th, 2016, and seen by The Intercept, Smith asked the State Department for an extension so FSG could review the report for more potential violations of U.S. defense export laws. So they were looking into that. They were looking at that pretty significantly. So a close associate of Prince's previously told The Intercept at the same time of the Ray investigation, Prince was operating a secret Skunksworks program using his own role as FSG's founder and chairman to cover its shadowy activities. And Erik wants to be a real no-bleep mercenary, said the associate. Erik hides in the shadows and uses FSG for legitimacy. So he wants to get the most, and he does not care about violating all the laws. He wants to be someone who, you know, when he walks in the room, you look at him and you're like, oh my God, that guy violates U.S. defense export laws. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, that's the point. That's pretty much the point. That's pretty much what he wants to do, and he used FSG, according to this report, and according to this associate, to do that in this Ray-led investigation. Christopher Wray, now obviously the director of the FBI, So soon after Smith reported Prince's potential violations to the State Department, Smith was forced out of the company, and Prince and the Chinese business partners consolidated power. So, yeah, it sounds like a typical bad American guy who went off the rails. He's now been doing in like a TV show or something like Hawaii Five-0. They'll have this crazy guy who is like unknown off the coast of Hawaii and doing business with the Chinese. It just always somehow happens that way. Not to say the Chinese are shady and bad people in any way, obviously. But the point is, they do a lot of bad business with Americans. So, what action, if any, the Justice Department took after Ray's team shared their initial findings has not been made public. We were perplexed by the immediate lack of action. The State and Justice Department's former senior FSG official told The Intercept, adding that he and others at the company got the impression nobody wanted to dig until after, what a shocker, the 2016 election. At King and Spalding, Ray chaired the Special Matters and Government Investigations team, though it is unclear how involved he was in the day-to-day work or the FSG investigation. Chris led the group that our attorneys reported to, the former senior FSG official said. The team Ray led reads like a memo of who's who of former Justice Department officials. Her, who worked with the Rosenstein and George W. Bush Justice Department and in the George W. Bush Justice Department before his most recent stint at King and Spalding. Gary Grindler, the former chief of staff to Attorney General Eric Holder, took the lead in briefing the government on the Prince situation in 2016. The evidence strongly suggests that Prince was offering a foreign defense article, i.e. attack aircraft, for sale to the Azerbaijan military, according to the internal investigation. So that is very interesting. So Gary Grindler and Robert Herr, they do both have pretty, or used to have pretty important jobs there. So that's the important thing. So asked about the status of any investigations into Prince stemming from King and Spalding's work, Justice Department spokesman Sarah Easter Flores told The Intercept, "We don't comment, confirm, or deny the existence of investigations." Grindler, who is still a partner at King and Spalding, say he is unable to comment because of the information I have is covered by attorney-client privilege. For his part, Eric Prince appears emboldened by the Trump presidency. He gave heartily to a Trump super PAC, and his sister Betsy DeVos is the education secretary and doing God knows what with her schools, which is pretty bad because I'm in one of them she has control over. Prince continues to publicly push for the Trump administration to utilize his private spy and security services with no apparent concern the FBI or Justice Department may be pursuing him. On Sunday, Prince and Oliver North of Iran-Contra fame, a really notorious criminal, hosted a fundraiser at Prince's home to help his longtime friend and California Republican Representative Dana Rohrabacher. I think he's stepping down. Why are they having a fundraiser for him? I don't get it. Yeah. This was just on Sunday. Like, why are we having another? Didn't he announce he was going to step down? Am I going crazy here? All right. Anyway, still we have to move on. We'll get into our next story in 32 seconds. After a week of all new Newsflash episodes this Friday at 10 p.m., it's an all new Pilots Out episode of the SWRN game show, I've Got It. Then, Saturday at 7 p.m., it's a special Newsflash episode live from the historic March for Our Lives on Gun Reform in Washington, D.C., with in-depth reporting on the scene. Sunday at noon, the Spencer Walsh Show is all new with Zach Lifschultz. It's a week to remember, only on the Spencer Walsh Radio Network. Yeah, in case you haven't noticed, we will be playing that quite a lot throughout the week. So that is obviously very cool. And now we get to our last story of the day. The CBS interview with Saudi Arabia's Mohammed bin Salman was a crime against journalism. Interesting report on The Intercept about this. At just 32, Mohammed bin Salman seems fearless and determined. He has quickly become the most dominant Arab leader in a generation. That's how 60 Minutes began its interview with and profile of Saudi prince Mohammed bin Salman, or MBS as they call him, Sunday evening ahead of his visit to the White House on Tuesday. Launched on CBS in 1968, 60 Minutes has been described as one of the most esteemed news magazines in American television, has won more Emmy Awards than any other primetime U.S. TV show. It claims to offer hard-hitting investigative reports, interviews, feature segments, and profiles of people in the news. Emmy-winning, award-winning, esteemed, hard-hitting stuff. And they do that sometimes. They have had some pretty important investigations come out. Even this season, they've done that. But so why did the segment on MBS resemble more of an infomercial for the Saudi regime than a serious or hard-hitting interview? His reforms inside the Saudi Arabia have been revolutionary, intoned correspondent Nora O'Donnell. Prior to the start of his exclusive sit-down with Crown Prince in Riyadh, he is emancipating women, introducing music and cinema, and cracking down on corruption. So this seems to be more like an infomercial. And I personally myself didn't watch the interview. I just heard about it in the press, and the fact that it really wasn't that great at all. But it is something that is worth, and we have a lot of quotes for it right here. And the very interesting thing, and that's funny. This next part is funny. So he is emancipating women, just letting them drive, introducing music and cinema, and cracking down on corruption by putting people like literally any other senior advisor, senior like person who watches the kind of stuff, who really experience like the UN, the Human Rights Watch, or whatever, all those great humanitarian organizations. They pretty much say, yeah, this dude's keeping political prisoners at this point to consolidate power. He's putting them in 5-star hotels, which is pretty funny, and why the U.S. is still giving money to a country that puts its political prisoners so rich, it can put its political prisoners in 5-star hotels that don't look like 5-star hotels in America. That's for damn sure. Like, it is incredible. Like that we are still giving the money to go bomb Yemen. We'll get to that point in a minute. That's how he's cracking down in corruption. In order to get out of this 5-star hotel political prison, you have to pretty much give up a good portion of your power to the Saudi Crown Prince, MBS, who's probably super rich at this point. Yeah, and then Tom Friedman and David Ignatius can now move over. And the Saudis seem to have found a new cheerleader within the U.S. press corps for getting some Saudi bombardment and siege of Yemen, described by the UN as the worst humanitarian crisis in the world, which received mere 2 minutes of the coverage in the course of a 30-minute segment. And we can forget the horrific Saudi